So great to see Jay Alter, who's in town for a few days, called the game last night against Cal, and you'll be on the call tomorrow for women's lacrosse?
Yeah, number one team in the country, Chloe Humphrey, the reigning player of the year, coming to the Dome. So great opportunity for Reggie Thorpe and a new era of Syracuse women's lacrosse to, you never know what's going to happen. Earlier in the week, Colorado beat Northwestern, which nobody saw coming. So, early season, you never know what can happen on the lacrosse field.
And you had a little downtime in between games. You're like, you know what? I want to go talk to Paulie and Steve on Orange Nation.
Well, I never get to see you guys because when I do usually call in, it's from the road or I've just finished a game and I'm already going to another game. So I said, hey, I got 3 days in Syracuse. I got to see Paulie and Steve. And, what a game we had last night with the power outages and obviously a double overtime thriller. So.
I was going to say, you've been doing this a while. And as a play-by-play guy, I know that you even though you're a Cuse guy, you don't root. You just want a good game, and you got a good game. I would imagine that's one of the more memorable games you've called, probably.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And when you think about all the factors, and I try and get the pulse of the fan base, so I listen to you guys in preparation for a game. I can't remember a time where it's been this toxic in the middle of a season where
Me neither.
If you are a fan, you should want the team to win. Like you kind of read your comments and everything, and it's like, do they just want the team to lose out at this point?
I think some people do.
Yes.
But I hope that somewhere inside them, when it went to overtime and double overtime, the Syracuse fans out there were like, well, this is a very entertaining game. The guys are battling, and hey, they won, which is the objective. And, at least for one night, hopefully a reminder of, what it's like to be a Syracuse fan when you have those thrilling, high-scoring, back-and-forth, fun games. And that's exactly what it was, to your point.
Yeah, it's also disappointing, though, as we were just talking about, that, this team should beat Hofstra and BC.
No doubt. And that is part of the story of the season that the players and the coaches are going to have to live with, is they did miss opportunities. But I thought in the first overtime, it was going to go, oh, gosh, they're going to let this one slip.
Like the BC game.
Right. And I thought, if that was a team that's truly quit, like a lot of people have accused this team of doing, then they would have thrown in the towel and lost in that overtime. So the fact that they gutted it out showed me something. Now, does that mean they're going to win out? No. Does that mean they're going to go on a run in the ACC tournament? No. But I would just encourage everybody to root for wins and to root for success. And at the end of the season, if it goes the way it's going, we all know what's going to happen. So I would just keep the rooting interest and the positivity. I thought Felicia Leggett-Jack, the women's coach, had a very positive message a couple of days ago of just, hey, you root for your team every night, and if they don't win enough games, then changes get made. And not just in Syracuse, that's any program.
I like what she said as well. And if you know Felicia at all, that's who she's always been. I was surprised that she got pushback from some people.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is bizarre to me. Paulie and I were talking before the show about if you're looking at who you would want to bring back next year, regardless of who the coach is. Paulie said, I think Nate Kings might be at the top of the list. Now, we saw, that might be a little bit of recency bias because we saw him play great last night. But in the last 2 wins, he scored 55 points. Against Notre Dame, he had 28. He had 27 last night. When he's good, he's been really good. What do you think about, him appealing for an extra year? It seems like he would get it. He's got a medical red shirt, plus he played 1 year of JUCO. Seems like he would have a good case to get an extra year. Would he be a priority for you, Jay, to bring back?
Definitely. And I think you need to have some consistency from year to year, even if there is a new head coach, even because the teams that are totally overhauling their roster, I even look at Miami, and they've had relative success, but they are not deep. They've got 5-6 guys, and after that, it drops off a cliff. So to have quality depth is something very difficult to find, and you can't go into the portal and get 8-9 quality guys. You're probably going to get 4 or 5, so you need to retain a guy like Nate Kings. I would even say Sadiq White.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's shown flashes throughout his freshman season and obviously inconsistent both in minutes and production, but he would be on my list, Steve, and somebody to bring back.
You didn't mention Cayenne there, and I know that's a tricky situation, right? Because we don't know who, if there is a new coach here. We assume there's going to be a new coach here, who that next coach will be. And obviously there's been the drama with him this last week of only playing 9 minutes against North Carolina, then not playing against Virginia, then playing last night, but not in, no crunch time minutes really. What do you make of his whole situation?
Yeah, he did play 10 minutes in the first half, which did catch Randolph and I by surprise.
Yeah.
Going into the game, you're thinking, well, there's a good chance that he doesn't play again.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big part of our story. Now, we found it very odd that his reception when he checked in was like a player returning from an ACL injury who hadn't been on the court in a year. I didn't even see him really checking in. The action was down here, and Randolph's kind of pointing to me. And then you hear the crowd kind of, it might have been one of the loudest they were, the entire first half. And so obviously the fans have great respect and admiration for him and want to see him play. I just don't know that his production has warranted more than 10 minutes a game. I mean, and by the way, freshmen are allowed to be inconsistent. I think we live in a world now where all the lottery picks are freshmen, and we expect freshmen to come in and be the best players like we've seen at Duke and Carolina and Kansas. Well, sometimes freshmen are just freshmen, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think had he just played 5 minutes against Virginia,
it's a non-story.
Right. It's the fact that he did not play. I mean, Sadiq only played 2 minutes, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact that Kian got 0.
It was like Willis Reed last night. It really was. It was bizarre.
You noticed it too, right? Yeah. I mean, it was really odd. The whole night was odd. That, and then the power going out and double overtime, and Chris Bell being back, and which I thought we tried to cover well, but it's just odd. Like in any other situation, a player that's played 3 years would be a big talking point, but now the portal, it's like, well, that happens every other game now.
You worked with Randolph Childress again last night. He came on our show a few weeks ago and asked us a question in the middle of the interview that we've been talking about ever since. And that is, he said, where does Syracuse rank in NIL? And
he really started something.
He did. We took a stab at it. We said middle of the pack. I
said 10th, 9th, 10th. And I stand by it, even after what John Wildhack said yesterday.
So if you've had time to think about this. I was going to say, if Randolph had asked you that question, but in knowing that the question was posed to us, go ahead, Paulie.
But did you hear we had John Wildhack on yesterday?
Yes, he said
the top half, which could be anywhere from
what
9 up.
What are your thoughts about where they stand?
I fortunate, been doing the ACC the last 7 years, so I get to go to all the schools. You talk to people, and just you have a good feel of where everybody is. And I would slot Syracuse somewhere between 7 and 10 because I know there's 6 schools above them, and I know the schools, I would say there's definitely 8 schools below them.
Okay.
So, I would say they're
7 through 10.
By that definition, if they are 7, 8, they're top half.
Right, and I said that to you, Paulie, when I came in today, that I think there is some nuance to this. Like, I think that you both can be right. I mean, obviously, if it's not 10th, you're not right. But I think middle of the pack is accurate. I think that, by John Wildhack saying they're upper half, if they're 7th or 8th,
they are.
As you said, that's upper half. But I'm with you, Jay. I think that, there are 6 that you can point to and say, Syracuse is not on that level, and there's certainly a bunch below
There's
them.
18 schools in the ACC for basketball. So if they are 9 or above, they're in the top half. And
correct.
I do think they are.
Yeah.
I said 7 through 10. They're probably 7 8,
through 9. Yeah, right. Yeah. There you go. Right.
So
you were wrong, Paulie, for saying
But that said, next year, right, is the amount you gave going to be, enough? I mean, Rick Pitino came out and said the Big East schools should be spending a minimum. They should, put in a rule saying if you are in the Big East, you need to spend $9 million or more. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah. No, that is a lot.
And I don't know this for a fact, too. And I was basing my thing on, too, is I had also heard that Syracuse did its rev share differently than other schools. Whereas men's basketball may not have gotten as much as other schools did, but that was just, I could have been misinformed on that. But I would say this roster, like, it's not rocket science either. It's like Miami has 3 starters from Power 4 schools.
Right.
Syracuse has 2, and then a bunch of guys who barely sniffed the court.
So he brings up Miami, and you brought up Miami a moment ago, and you said that they've got some talent, but after you get through, the 6th guy on the roster, it falls off a cliff. So they put their roster together differently than most, right? They almost went with the top heavy talent, almost like the NBA with a big 3, and then they fill role players around.
That's exactly what they did.
Is that model more sustainable for a program like Syracuse? Like, should that be the model, do you think, for a program like Syracuse moving forward, where you try to go after some top end talent and you get maybe 3 guys and then you fill around them, or like this year's team, it feels like you've got like 9 or 10 guys who can play, but there's not like a superstar. You know what I mean? Like we look at Donnie as their best player, but I don't know. Do you think that there's a right or wrong way to put a roster together given NIL?
Yeah, I think going forward, you're going to see more teams try and attract that. Okay, we might have to pay this guy $2 million, but we've got a guy.
Yeah.
I'll point to NC State, who paid reportedly around the $3 million mark for the preseason ACC Player of the Year, and he has not panned out.
Right.
Will Wade has defended the fact that he hasn't been as bad as people think, but he's certainly not worth the money they're paying him. That said, they had so much put into it that they did both. They got the marquee guy and they got depth.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to what NC State has done. And I wanted to bring NC State up with you guys because why can't that be a roadmap for Syracuse? Clearly 2 years ago, very frustrated with their head coach, Kevin Keatts.
Yep.
They go on a miracle run and win the ACC and go to the Final Four. It only bought Kevin Keatts 10 and a half months.
Yeah.
So it's not like they then signed Kevin Keatts to this 10-year extension. And when they were going on that run, there was a section of the fan base being like, oh, no. We're going to go to the Final Four. What a bummer. I mean, and I couldn't believe that's what NC State fans were really thinking. But that they were very similar to the toxicity that is existing right now in Syracuse. So I would say, hey, Syracuse goes on a run like that, enjoy it. And it doesn't promise that the coach is going to be there for another 10 years because Kevin Keatts was there for another 10 months after that run. But after Keatts goes, what happens? Huge investment in the program.
Right.
So if you are going to make that change, like NC State did, it better come with the commitment that NC State has backed it up. If they had given Will Wade the same commitment that Kevin Keatts got, I don't think NC State's in any different position.
Do you think, like, with NIL overall, is it sustainable? Like you mentioned, they spent $3 million on a guy who hasn't panned out, or you get, like, if you gave money and to get Darren Peterson to come to Kansas, and he's doing what he's doing right now, you're not giving again, right? It's crazy to me.
I do think at the blue blood programs, they're going to keep giving. It's just such a part of it's embedded. And I do think the money is kind of endless when you look at a Duke, Carolina, Kansas. It is a different level. And I look at football, like, you think Miami and Texas A&M are going to give any less, if they don't have success? No. Like, they're just going to keep throwing money at the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas A&M pays that enormous buyout to Jimbo, and everyone goes, well, are they going to have any more money left? Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look what Miami did with Darian Mensah, the quarterback. Like, well, we really want him. Well, it's going to cost you, $10.5 million. That's fine. We really want him. He's the guy. And
what a bizarre world to live in. That really you could, if you're Fran Brown in Syracuse, you could develop somebody, right, and have great success in the ACC, and then Miami comes and plucks them.
Yeah, and he could be under contract. I mean, Darian Mensah was under contract to stay at Duke.
It's also funny to me that I'm getting beat up on Twitter because when you just mentioned something, if Syracuse goes and gets another coach, probably the first thing he's going to ask is, what's my NIL budget? And is Syracuse capable of matching? Because I mentioned LSU. If LSU comes open and they're like, that's not a better job than Syracuse. Well, if the NIL is better, it is.
I think that is the number one negotiating tool that these coaches have is, what is my budget? And they use it as leverage. So someone may want the Syracuse job more than the LSU job, but if their agents negotiated a $12 million NIL package at LSU and Syracuse is only 9 or 10, well, I'm probably going to go to LSU. And that's sad to me as a guy who grew up loving college basketball and loving the Big East. And, the Big East obviously doesn't have that football money. And you think, okay, are they going to fall down? I love the fact that the Big East has made a commitment to NIL, and I think the ACC, frankly, should put more of their allocation towards basketball than continuing to throw money at football and not necessarily getting the payoff.
You mentioned that there are 6 schools for sure that have better NIL budgets than Syracuse or higher NIL budgets than Syracuse. Are you afraid that those 6 or 5 or 6 teams are just going to dominate this conference year in and year out because of that?
It's a great question, and I would say, the coaches that I respect and the analysts that I respect and talk to go, yes. I mean, if you line up, and that's why Randolph asked the question, if you line up the budgets, it reflects the standings. Now,
yeah.
can you have a year or 2 years where you do coach them up and overcome? Sure. But I think over the next 10 years, it's probably going to reflect the money they're putting in. And that's sad,
But, Syracuse standing out, the basketball has been dominated in the ACC by 4 teams anyways, basically the whole time. Before it, I always Duke, North Carolina, Virginia. Clemson's the only one that's up there, maybe NC State that wasn't in the past.
Yeah, you surprised by Clemson's success year in and year out?
I am not, only because Brad Brownell, and that's where coaching really does matter. Right. And you know what's hysterical? 5 years ago, if you guys were hosting a radio show in Greenville, South Carolina, they wanted him out. They wanted to run him out, and you would just go to his practices and go, man, this guy's so good.
Yeah.
And they trusted him. They got the resources to back him up because Clemson couldn't recruit at the same level until they got the NIL going, because no one was going to choose Clemson. I remember Zion Williamson was in their backyard.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to choose Clemson over Duke.
Right.
So now, if the money's the same, maybe Zion would have chose Clemson because it's in his backyard. So
it's a good point. We're running short on time here, Jay, but you are in town also to do some lacrosse. Any thoughts on the men's and women's lacrosse teams up there on the hill?
Well, it's just awesome that here we are in the middle of February, and we have 2 incredible games tomorrow at the Dome. Take off work, get the kid out of school early, and try and go to that doubleheader, because it's going to be incredible. Both on the women's side, you got the #1 team in the country in North Carolina, and a great test for Syracuse with a new head coach. And then on the men's side, it really is the 2 best programs in the country. And I think this year, I vote in the men's poll. There's 3 teams and everybody else. I think Maryland, Syracuse, and Princeton, for me, talent-wise, have separated themselves, and they're a tier above. And the fact that you get those 2, I mean, it's probably a national championship preview, right? And I just think it's awesome. I think you could have more than 10,000. You guys were joking about attendance before I came on. It's going to be a legitimate 10,000 in the Dome tomorrow.
Yeah, there'll be more people at that game than there were at the basketball game last night, I tend to think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It'll be an awesome atmosphere. I'm going to call the women's game and then stick around and watch the men's game. So.
As you should. Jay, it's always a pleasure.
Jay,
you got something else,
Yeah, I do, because you asked me a question during the... Jay, you travel a lot.
Yes.
You ever worn the robe in a hotel?
Goodness gracious.
Oh, yeah. Gosh,
you have?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'm weird.
What do you mean?
I don't know who else has had that robe on. I don't want to wear it.
Well, look, it's a fresh robe. Not that ESPN's putting us up in the Ritz-Carlton, but yeah, of course. I mean, not every time, but it's there for a reason.
Yeah, I laid the robe out at the hotel I was at last time and said it's happening to Steve, but I couldn't pull the trigger. I couldn't pull the trigger. All I could think of is some other weirdo wearing that robe before me.
Paulie and I are both germaphobes a little bit. So I said I'd never worn the robe before, but I'm sure that there are people who do. So I'm glad. I'm glad the robes are being used.
Okay, I don't want there to be a perception that that's the first thing I do when I check in.
Yeah.
But
fresh robe.
Over the course of being on the road, 200 days a year for 10 years, yes, I've slipped into a robe.
All right, there you go. Maybe
I challenge you, Paulie, to do it next time.
If there's a robe in my hotel in Durham, I'm going to put it on.
Do it.
And I'll snap a picture for
you. Great seeing you guys.
Great seeing you as well.
Thanks for coming in.
Yes, thank you. That was Jay Alter, everybody. We'll take a timeout. We'll check in on the market. Adrian Autry joins us at 1 o'clock. Back after this on ESPN.